Hello, 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 everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Sipping Wealth Live, where I bring you news, tips, and tricks on how to wealth up. All right, y'all. So today I have a brand new topic. We are talking retirement because what better conversation is there right now in this day and age than making sure that we are properly retiring on time and we're not having to overload ourselves or even panic when that time comes. There are, some other great other topics as well, but this is one of the main and big topics, a huge concern to a lot of people. So I want to make sure I touched on this topic today with you all. So I'm going to give y'all some tips, some things that to know, to keep in mind as you continue on your wealth journey so that we are properly prepared and ready to go when retirement comes. So you could be like, okay, so you could be more ready and prepared for retirement. All right. So I just wanted to make sure that everything's up and running on these sites before I get it on and popping. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Let's go, y'all. So, for starters, I'm gonna go ahead and kind of go through the tips. If y'all do have questions, things that you want to bring up throughout the live, feel free to drop a comment in the comment section. Even if it's to say, "Hey, this is great information," or even if whatever feedback you have, or insight, whatever you want to add to the live, feel free to drop it in the comment section, as well as making sure that you reach out for anything specific that you want to address as well. All right, y'all, let's get into it. Okay, for starters, of course, is starting early. So, of course, we want to make sure that we are starting to save for retirement as early as possible. So, if you haven't already started contributing to a retirement plan, whether it's through your job, through a 401k or a 403b, or maybe you open an account on your own, an IRA through maybe a Fidelity, Charles Schwab, or financial advisor that you trust. Whatever the case may be, however you want to go about it, just make sure that you are contributing to your retirement and that you avoid having to do that retirement withdrawal as you continue on your wealth journey. All right, y'all. So the more time that your money has to grow, the better, because your interest is compounding through the years. So the earlier you start, even if it's a small amount, even if all you have is to spare an extra $100 a month, or maybe you're like, hey, I got $50 right now, $50 a month or $50 every other week, that every paycheck I can only put $50 towards my retirement every paycheck. If that's the case, then start there, and then over time you can increase that and move it up. And but as the whole thing, the nature of it is to make sure that you are investing, you're putting money to your retirement plan as early as possible so that you can allow that compound interest to work in your favor. All right. Oh yeah, I just forgot something. Um, Realized the Facebook isn't up. I want to make sure that it is up so that those of you that are tuning in to the Sipping Wealth, so we do have a Facebook group called Sipping Wealth, cash flows, tax and tips, to assist individuals or people that just want to make sure that they're learning more information. So we do post tips and information in the group every single day. So if you want to be a part of a community, if you want to tap into a group like that where you're, getting these tidbits and information, these tax tips, whatever the case may be, definitely make sure that you join the Sipping Well Cash Flow tax and financial tips group on Facebook. All right. Whew. Let's get back to it now that, the Facebook group is up. Okay. All righty. Okay. Okay. All right. The next thing is to maximize your employer's contribution. So if your employer is matching your contribution, a lot of employers do like a 3, 4% match, or maybe even a 2% match. Then, hey, they're saying, hey, if you contribute at least 2% to your retirement, we're going to contribute an additional 2%. We're going to match your contribution. That's free money. That's money that is going towards your retirement that your employer is helping you add to the bucket. So take advantage of it. Take advantage of that matching. If your employer doesn't do a matching policy, or maybe you don't know if your employer does a matching policy, ask about it. But take advantage of your employer that employer matching. Maximize that employer contribution. If they say, hey, we'll meet you at 4%, meet them at 4%, because, like, again, you're leaving money on the table. Imagine if you have somebody and say, hey, every $5 you save, I'm going to give you an extra $5. Imagine how quickly that's going to accumulate. That's essentially what they're doing. So maximize that employer contribution, y'all. All right. The next thing is to increase your contribution gradually. I kind of hinted at this before. So if you're starting with, say, I only have $100 a month, or a paycheck to put aside for retirement, however, then over time you want to say, okay, let me increase that by 2%. Let me increase that by an extra $5. Instead of $100, I'm going to do $105. Instead of $100, I'm going to do $110. And then eventually you're going to say, instead of $110, I'm going to do $120. And that accumulation is going to help you get to your goal a lot quicker. Because a lot of times people get stuck with not realizing, hey, you need 2, 3, sometimes $5 million to actually retire. So how are you going to get that amount of money? How are you going to make sure that you have $2 million in order to effectively retire? Well, you don't even realize that that's your retirement number, because you're going by your day to day and you're like, oh, I'll get to it later. But if you want to sustain your income, say you're like, hey, I want to make sure that I'm able to live off of a $70,000 income for the rest of my life for 30 years for retirement. That's $70,000 each year. So quick math, you want to do 70,000 by the 30 years. If you're like, hey, I want to make sure that I'm able to live off of 70,000 for 30 years. So now you're like, hey, 2.1. Now you're having to figure out, how am I going to get $2 million, over $2 million, in order to make sure that I'm able to retire and stay retired and not having to work. So if that's your number, things increase over time. You do have taxes, things like that to consider. And the increase of, like I said, inflation, everything like that. So 70K now, it's going to look a little different in the future, right? But I'm just throwing a number out there. So if the number is $2 million, then how do I get a $2 million? Well, you need to make sure that we're increasing our contributions gradually every time. So as your income goes up, your contribution to your retirement should be going up as well. The quickest thing that people do once they get more money is purchase a new liability, purchase a new car, purchase a bigger house. Go buy material things without saying, hey, my salary just increased 10,000 for the year. Let me take 1,000 of it and put it in retirement. Let me take 2,000 of it and put it in retirement, because I was able to live off of $10,000 less the previous year. Yeah, things are increasing, but let me just put 2,000 of it away in retirement on top of, whatever else I'm saving. And then I'm able to go, so as your income is increasing, so is your retirement contribution as well. All right. The other is to diversify your investments. I recommend after a certain amount of time to make sure that you are set up with a reliable and trustworthy and knowledgeable, experienced, all that good stuff, financial advisor, as you grow in your financial wealth. But in the beginning, to just start us out, we want to make sure that we're diversifying. You have that 401k, you have that IRA account, because you want to make sure that, hey, I'm invested in stocks and bonds. or hey, I want to get into real estate investing as well. Whatever the case may be, you want to diversify ideally, because it a lot of times it helps reduce your risk, depending on what you're investing in, and it helps you with bringing additional returns, potential returns on the investment. So that's why it's generally a good idea to make sure that you are investing, diversifying your investments. All right. The next is to understand your investment options. Have that conversation. If it costs you $200 to sit with a financial advisor to have the conversation, spend it. If it's costing you time to do your research and really sit down and hone in on this, if it's costing you the time that you're taking to watch this live, whatever, make sure that you're understanding your investment options overall. You want to make sure that you're educating yourself, because this is going to help actually accelerate and make it possible for you to hit that $2 million uh, goal or $3 million goal, depending on how much money you need to make sure that you have saved up for retirement. And that depends on the lifestyle that you want to live at retirement, and then how much money you're going to need and for how many years. Because if you're going to stay retired for 30 years, we need to make sure that, hey, you have that 80,000 for each year you're retired. All right. Or you have that 70,000 for each year you're retired. The other is to consider Roth accounts. So Roth IRAs or Roth 401ks are great. I love them. On the tax side, yes, you do take a tax hit when you're contributing, because it's money that has been already taxed. But the beauty about a Roth account is that they're after tax dollars, which means when you're taking the money out at retirement, you don't have to now pay taxes on it. And generally, taxes are going to be higher, especially we have our taxes kind of the Tax Codes and Job Act is actually phasing out. Okay, so a lot of the tax laws and things like that were passed during that act when Trump came into office years ago are phasing out, which means we're going back to the regular standard deduction, the exemptions, and the tax rate. So a lot of people are going to see a bump in income taxes as we go into the future years, if there are any changes expected. But right now, by the end of 2025, we're going to be looking at a bump, like 2%, 3% bump in each tax bracket. So where you were sitting at 15% could now be sitting at 18%. But the tax brackets will change, and the standard deduction will change as well. So a lot of people are going to feel that change and ooh, my man, that change in that change in taxes. So if you're doing a Roth account, which is beautiful because that money was already taxed at a lower tax rate, which means now when you go to pull it out of retirement and taxes are generally higher, you don't have to worry about paying income taxes on that money. All right. The next thing is to make sure that you're rebalancing and taking a look at your portfolio. Once every year, when just kind of rebalancing your portfolio, re-looking at it, looking at your your allocation as far as what your money is invested in as well. So this is to make sure that you're not taking on more risk than you're actually, that you have the capacity for, and also that, hey, whatever you're invested in is actually advantageous to you as well. The next I want to say is to make sure that you're taking advantage of catch-up contributions. A lot of some employers offer this as well, but if you're over the age of 50, you do have the ability to do catch-up contributions, which allows you to put in more than the regular $6,500 a year into your retirement account. So you can actually increase the amount of money you're putting in your retirement account so that you can essentially catch up, like hurry up and accumulate before you actually retire. All right. Minimize your fees. There's depending on which brokerage and things like that you go with, like your traditional Fidelities and things like that, they tend to have quite a bit of management fees. So depending on the transactions and things like that, so you want to make sure that you're looking into that, because as if your portfolio is making you, you have it in a general portfolio, retirement fund, or whatever, and it's making you $12 in dividends, and the transaction fee for the year is $5. Well, it's looking a little high. So, look at the fees that you're actually paying these institutions, the management fees, the ratio fees, transaction fees, things like that, and ways that you can actually lower or even go to another institution. Um, Again, do not try to avoid withdrawing funds from your retirement account. Okay. One, it could lead to penalties, from the IRS. And another thing is it's not allowing your retirement to actually grow because you're removing money from it. So that whole investing early, starting early, is hurting you because you're pulling that money from there. All right. Plan for healthcare costs. I did a live on healthcare last week. So planning for healthcare is a huge retirement, hack as well, because then you can consider getting an HSA account, which offer tax benefits. All right. Tax-free growth, tax-free withdrawals. I love HSA accounts. Okay. There are so underutilized. Okay. And then also make sure that when you're doing retirement planning, consider the longevity of your retirement. So consider, hey, retirement is not looking like 15 years anymore. It's not looking like 20 years. It's looking more like 30 years. So hey, what's going to happen if I live 30 years? What's going to happen if I live 35 years? Do I have an annuity? Do I have a vehicle that's going to allow me, a guaranteed income for, the rest of my life? Do I have something like that set up? You want to consider outliving your expected traditional retirement plan. All right. The next is take advantage, like I kind of insinuated, in the HSA accounts, the Roth accounts, tax deferral accounts are beautiful. Okay, because or even tax accounts, that tax deferral accounts is going to be your traditional accounts, but accounts, your HSA accounts, have that tax withdrawal incentive, that withdrawal incentive that says, hey, when you go to withdraw the money, you're not paying taxes on that. Because, all right. Your RDM is, this is a terminology you want to kind of have in the back of your mind. Your RMD, my apologies, I said RDM. Your RMD is your required minimum distribution. This tends to be around the age of 72, 73. So this means that, hey, at the age of 72, 73, you have to start withdrawing money from your retirement account. Okay, or you can have penalties. All right. Roth conversions. So you can do like we call it, backdoor Roth. So when you out contribute to your retirement, maybe you've already done, or maybe you are over the threshold to contribute directly to your Roth account. And you were just contributing to your traditional IRA or to your traditional 401k account. And now you're like, hey, I want to go ahead and convert some of that money in my traditional account into the Roth, because I'd rather take the tax hit now than to worry about the tax hit later, because generally we know taxes increase over time, right? So you can do that. You can say, hey, I want to go ahead and do a conversion. Yes, you're going to get that tax bill now, but you're not going to have to worry about that later. All right. So it reduces your tax hit at retirement. So that money, when you're retired and you're expecting a certain amount of money, you don't want to be like, oh my gosh, I was expecting 5,000, but 1,000 of it has to go to taxes. You want to be like, oh, I'm expecting $5,000 and $5,000 is what I got because, the tax bill was already paid or, I had it deferred or whatever the case may be. All right. So, consider doing the Roth conversions, things like that. It can be advantageous. Leverage annuities. Annuities are beautiful, amazing. They do have that guaranteed income in retirement. If you do have a huge lump sum of money, I know a few of my clients, they maybe sold their properties or they downsized. I have a client now that's downsizing and they're like, hey, we don't need this large property anymore. Well, the gains from that property, you can put it into an annuity and now you have that guaranteed income bucket. So now at retirement, when you're ready to retire, now you're saying, hey, I have this money in that guarantee that I don't have to worry about outliving. All right. So this is going to take sitting down with a knowledgeable and experienced and a trustworthy financial and investment advisor. So you do want to make sure that you do it with them. So you can make sure that you're on the right track, y'all. All right. Make sure, I already alluded to this before, make sure that you are reviewing your retirement plan annually, setting your goals, figuring out, all right, how much money do I need to hit my retirement goal? You do not want to wait and be like, oh my gosh, ideally, I'm going to need $3 million to retire. How am I going to get that money? You don't want to wait for that. You don't want to, okay? You want to make sure that you have an idea of how to hit that $3 million marker so that you don't have to come out of retirement because you didn't save enough for retirement before. All right, you want to know how much money you're going to need in order to retire. And like I said, you want to think about longevity. So we are starting to live longer, okay? So that 15 years of retirement, is generally not going to fly by no more. We're looking more like 20, 30 years, okay? So like I said, if you're saying I'm going to need $80,000 a year of retirement, then you want to make sure you plan for 80 times 30 years or even beyond that, setting up an annuity, like I said before. So now you're like, oh my God, I need $3 million. Oh my gosh, I need 3.5. So hey, how am I going to get to that 3.5 number so I don't have to come in and out of retirement or try to figure out how am I going to pay my bills because I don't have the same work ethic that I had, or my job became obsolete, or whatever the case may be. All right. Coordinate with Social Security. You can go on the Social Security website and see what your Social Security number is. Very quick and easy process. You can literally log on, create an account, log on, and it'll show you if you've worked long enough, how much your projected amount of Social Security payout is. But of course, we don't want to completely rely on Social Security. We want to make sure that we have other retirement vehicles set in place as well. And then consider working part-time, doing something that's going to, give you a little income, that's going to keep you engaged out here in the community, all that good stuff. Really keeping your brain sharp and all that as well. And of course, per usual, making sure that you are seeking professional advice from an investment advisor, from your knowledgeable professionals that's going to lead you in the right direction. Again, make sure that they are licensed, credentialed, that you can look them up on the internet and their credentials come up. You want to make sure that you are investing with a licensed and reputable firm and individual. All right, y'all. Let me make sure. See if I have any questions. I love my HSA. Yes, I love that. Oh my gosh. Yes, HSA. I keep saying HSAs are so underutilized. Like people are asleep on HSA accounts. I'm like, do you know that you can use your HSA account to purchase certain supplies on Amazon, your Walgreens, whatever, Walmart, depending on what they are. Like I'm saying, get an HSA account, okay? Especially women, we have to purchase our supplies and stuff every month, use your HSA account. Make sure that you are using this HSA account. If your employer offers an FSA, I'd be having to slow down because my accents start coming out. If your employer offers one, tap into that. But oh my gosh, they are so underutilized, and the tax benefits are insane with them. Because like I said, tax-free growth. Healthcare costs does not decrease over time; it increases over time because generally our health, a little fluctuates over time. But yeah, invest in that HSA account, tax-free growth, tax-free withdrawals. Yes, I love that for us. This is great. Thank you, Krista. Thank you for tapping in. I appreciate it. Yes, y'all. Okay. Next week we are talking about retirement again. But I'm going to go in depth on another aspect of retirement. So tap into next week's live. And Sunday is my birthday. So I will still have the live on next Tuesday. But yes, y'all, have a great rest of your week. Have an amazing week because it's my birthday week. And then also next week is my birthday week as well because I have to claim both because my birthday falls on a Sunday. But yes, y'all have an amazing week and weekend. Again, tap in next Tuesday at 6 p.m. where I bring you additional news, tips, and tricks on how to wealth up, y'all. All righty. Bye-bye.